Yeah, let's go.
All right. So welcome. We have a big group today, and gosh, we are in the midst of Jim, kicking off Q3 already. It's hard to believe.
I know.
Um, but special guest today, Jim. You wanna make an
Yeah,
intro to who we have?
absolutely. So we've got what 66, 67 folks on today. And Andrew, I think this is episode 1021. That's you folks.
Something
Something
like
like
that.
that.
Something, yeah. So, but today is a very special day. Quick program, I do have to jump off at 1:30 today for another call. But between now and then, it's an honor and a privilege to introduce Rania, our new CEO here at SaaS Alerts, SaaS Alerts at Kaseya, to the call. I've explained this call to her, but it's something you really can't explain. I think you have to experience. So one of the things I've asked Rania to do is come on and talk a little bit about her background and essentially why Kaseya. Why come into this industry? Why join Kaseya at this point in time? So with that, I'd like to turn it over to the new CEO of Kaseya, Rania Sakar.
Thank you so much, Jim. And it's really exciting to be here. Jim told me that you have been meeting weekly as a group of 60 or 70 individuals for the last several years, and you've now hit 1,000 sessions. It's remarkable to have this community together. So I'm looking forward to sharing a little bit about me, but also having a dialogue. I said to Jim, can I ask them for input on what we should be focused on? And so I'd love to hear it directly from you. I know Jim has a good pulse on that. So I can start by answering the questions Jim posed, which is a little bit about my background and why Kaseya. So I've got a lot, some of you might have heard me say this. I've got a lot of passion for opportunity creation led through, and technology is a massive way to create opportunities. I've focused primarily on small businesses. So in the last several years, I've dedicated a big part of my career to accelerating the growth of small businesses through AI and technology and its full potential. And in the last several years, I got to do that in two areas for small businesses. First, I led the QuickBooks Money team. So we were very focused on solving cash flow problems for small businesses, which is the number two reason small businesses go out of business, as you all know. And we built many AI first products, like, for example, a capital offering where we solved the problem where it was very hard to get lending through any traditional lender. And we used all that data we had and could automatically write every business and get them credit on the spot. We also worked on dramatically improving invoicing in QuickBooks so that people got paid faster. We worked on all sorts of solutions, all in service of cash flow improvements for businesses. And then in the last 2 years, I led a business that was focused on solving the number one problem that small businesses faced, which was MailChimp. The number one problem is growing, as you know, finding new customers, growing relationships with existing customers. And we built AI-centered offerings to do that. So I have a lot of passion in this space, and I've seen how when you build these offerings, you can make a massive difference to the growth of small businesses, as you all know. And so I believe, as I got to know Kaseya, Kaseya has the potential, because of our partnership with MSPs, to be one of the most important technology platforms in empowering small businesses to grow. And the reason for that is, like I said, the MSPs, I have learned being in the SMB space for many years that they struggle to adopt an optimized tech stack. It's very hard for them. They're very busy. And MSPs have those trusted relationships and are in there helping optimize tech decisions. I think there's room to go even further in the scope of what MSPs are doing there to help small businesses be successful. That's going to be even more important in this age of AI. Small business, everybody's having the conversations about enterprises equipping themselves for the AI transformation, which is proving to be very hard. But small businesses, no one's having that conversation yet. I believe together in this moment, Kaseya plus SMBs can build the platform that unifies the data for small businesses and builds all sorts of agents and business intelligence on top of that platform. So Kaseya has always been in a great position with MSPs to be a leader in small business success, and now more than ever, that's the case. The other thing that makes Kaseya special in my mind is the scale of offerings and the breadth of the platform portfolio, but also the data that we have access to, which frankly, we haven't really harnessed yet, and we're very excited to harness in massive ways. I think SaaS Alerts is a great offering that does harness it today, and we have the chance to do that across our whole portfolio. So I'm excited to partner with all of you to realize the potential. I think it's very significant here. Sorry, Jim, that was a long answer to your question.
No.
I can go in other directions too, if you had other questions that would be helpful primers.
Well, I think, one of the areas that we have talked about a lot since you joined, as a leadership team at Kaseya is improving the overall customer experience, right? So we've got literally, 50,000 partners worldwide. What are your thoughts on different ways now that you've been in the business now a couple months, different ways that we're going to be able to improve customer experience from maybe ways that we've done it in the past?
Yeah, I'll talk about 3 categories, but the first is just the end-to-end, making sure we hold ourselves accountable, and I'll give examples in this first area, but holding ourselves accountable to an exceptional end-to-end customer experience whenever they engage with us. And as our leadership team has been talking a lot about, we have opportunity here. So it starts with every touch point in the experience. We're auditing now and saying, how can we do better? Several examples. We've gotten a lot better in billing, but we can do better. When there's an issue, it takes us too long to resolve it. So we're working on how do we automate those processes and measuring ourselves to ensure that we do it in faster and more impactful ways. Even things like the clarity with which our customers can understand their bills. There's a lot we can do there. Also on billing, I know you're all very excited about the elimination of high watermark pricing. Jim's team is working hard to say, how do we get that to our customers fast? So everything in that category, we're looking at that a lot. Onboarding, how do we make onboarding as fast and effective as possible so customers can get to the offerings that they want to use and get to quickly benefit from them, because then they're able to sell them to their end customers and realize benefit from starting to use them. So that's another area. Support, how do we make it so easy as you're using, for example, any of the offerings, Autotask or anything else, any offering where you've got self-help in the experience. If you're stuck on a workflow, it's digitally right there, so you don't even need to engage with support. You can self-solve it. If you do engage with support, how do we increase our first day resolution rate? So we've got lots of work there. We're focused on it. Product health, another big part of the customer experience. The fact that it's constant, it's always available, the uptime's there, the reliability is there. So we're working on increasing our measurement there and focusing on it. So those are the parts of the customer experience, but we're very focused on mapping the whole thing, measuring the whole thing, and making fast progress in that piece. We're also, another part of customer experience is our pace of innovation, bringing you new offerings so you can then grow your business or you can improve your margins. And so we're looking at accelerating our innovation engine so that we're making sure AI is at every part of the platform and that the platform works better together. All the pieces of our offering, the data talks to each other, the APIs work the way you'd expect, just the platform investments you'd want to see. So those are just a couple of areas that we're working on to deliver a better customer experience.
Well, thank you, Rania. And I can speak from experience now, with 6, 7, 8 weeks in working with you, Rania, that you mean everything you say. And that one of the things I'm really excited about is exactly how customer centric you are, not just your words, but your actions every single day.
Thanks, Jim. It's fun to think about these things together, because so are you. So it's great to be able to work together as thought partners on this.
Great. So with that said, we have the entire call, right? Basically is their SaaS alerts customers, but there's a ton of crossover, and a lot of these folks are using, Kaseya, the other Kaseya products as well. So we have got a lot of questions, I think, from people. I can see hands raised already. We're going to go Andrew, and then Andy's has his hand up as well.
Excellent. And maybe in the last 7 minutes, I'll turn the table and ask you all questions. But in the meantime, I will answer all your questions. So go ahead, Andy.
Yeah. You want me to go first, Jim?
Yeah.
Okay. So Rania, great to meet you. Thank you for coming on. One of the first things we do every week is we call it wins of the week, and the partners go around, talk about, how SaaS alerts may have intercepted, an adversary, right, real time, et cetera. And it's been a really cool way to see this and all the automation that Chip and Ron and team have put in place. One of the things prior to you coming on that we were really emphatic about is finding as many SaaS companies as possible to provide APIs so that we could do more automation.
I have a feeling I know where this is going, because
somebody that had
going.
the inside scoop at Intuit. Can you what can you say of why, so the most prolific small business accounting system used, why can't we get access to do more with that system and protect our clients?
Yeah, you went right where Jim has asked me many times. Great. I think my first conversation with Jim, it was his first
Exactly. The first 5 minutes, I think, Rania.
Yeah, it's an excellent question. I owe it to Jim because he asked me, he says, you follow up on a lot of things, but you still haven't connected me to that person at Intuit. So I will do that. The one thing I will say is that, but it doesn't mean there's not an opportunity here, and it doesn't mean I won't follow up. But the one thing I'll say here is that QuickBooks does have an in-house team that does a lot of work to protect the offering from bad actors because of all the sensitivity associated in QuickBooks, including money movement. Once you're in QuickBooks, you have a lot of opportunity to do financial harm to the business owners because you can move money. There's all sorts of financial products sitting in there. So yes, I will follow up there. I've heard the opportunity loud and clear, and I hear you on it. And we'll make sure Jim and I get in touch with the security leader at Intuit to talk about the possibilities there.
And I'll close with this. I know you probably won't be on, but like every week we go through these different threat reports, Rania.
Yep.
And I'm just showing a quick slide and this comes from eCentire's identity threat report. And you see the biggest increase in identity attacks on SaaS applications.
Mm-hmm.
And lo and behold, which is the biggest one, business services.
Yep.
So I just wanted to kind of give you that data set also, that and I can send this report through to Jim to get to you, but it really hones in on the fact that the SaaS applications and all of the credential theft and token hijacking are really where the threat actors are playing. And obviously QuickBooks is doing a great job because you don't hear a lot of compromises at QuickBooks, thank God. But it's nobody's invincible, as we know. So
yep. Great point. And it's a good reminder to me, and I'll get the conversation going to see if there's something that the team feels that they're not currently doing that would be augmented by the work SaaS Alerts is doing. So we'll look at that for sure.
Cool. Andy, over to you.
Well, yeah, mine's typically multifaceted. So I'll go with the easy one first. Rania and Jim, one of the challenges with QuickBooks is that backup services are only offered on the advanced product and not the mid-tier product.
Yep.
And we have a SaaS solution that does backups for 365. Why not allow us to do backups of QuickBooks for our customers?
Roadmap.
Awesome.
It's on our roadmap, and the team has identified it as a very important opportunity.
I think it brings us closer and begins to tie us more and more with the bookkeepers and the CPAs of the world around that. The second thing is, Rania, this community not only has educated us about the use of SaaS, but what Andrew and Jim and Chip have done is they've built an environment where we are exposed and current with what's happening and have influence and voice into product development and direction. And I'm part of Troop here, having a way to bring this together with someone outside, and I'm talking about Andrew Morgan here, to help us walk through and navigate some of these pieces has really been instrumental in our development, and I believe in SaaS Alerts development. And I think this could be replicated across many areas within Kaseya, creating and fostering communities that would enrich and empower the MSP more substantially.
I love that. And it's actually one of our top themes that we introduced at Connect earlier this year in Las Vegas, which was the increased commitment to leaning into community to help MSPs grow. Can you share a little bit more, Andy? You rattled them off, but there's obviously many ways to do peer groups and communities, but
Yep.
What are the things that have been most valuable about this model that we could expand more broadly?
So to me, it is the fact that one, it's current, it's relevant, and Andrew brings in what's happening in the real world. We get to talk about it as it relates to SaaS Alerts and the solution, and potentially discuss enhancements or modifications that would enable us. When Adam came in, he began to integrate and link up aspects of the RMM to SaaS Alerts, and that grew very quickly to encase and encompass many more things. As I'm looking at Kaseya's offering in particular, we're moving from the K365 device and the K365 user up to the my IT process, and how do you populate that to add greater value to our customers? That would be an example of a community call that would be enriching, instead of this is how you use my IT process, but how to make it more holistic and real world.
So real quick, I just want to
Sorry,
piggyback.
I go that route.
No. I want to. So first of all, Andy, thank you so much for your comments. They're very much appreciated. I think one of the keys of making this call so successful, and so long lasting, is the fact that we do have Andrew Morgan here. We
Yeah.
have an independent third party that obviously we can speak about. Andrew, he's Right a Boom, he's Cyber Nation, like he's a credible source for us, right? In addition, he's a third party. We're not here just extolling the attributes of our product, right? We're coming to he's bringing the agenda to the table every single week with current information that affects this community. And it might not be, many times it's not specific to SaaS alerts, right? It's just something that's going to be helpful for everyone here to know. And of course, we're relying on this community. And I would be remiss without saying this. We would not have been able to build SaaS alerts the way we did without this community. That is 100%.
Super powerful. And I love that because there's elements of this we could replicate to broader parts of the Kaseya community to help them be as effective and successful as you've all been. So thank you for sharing those things.
Absolutely. So there's a lot of folks, I don't know if the chat is, there's a lot of folks that want in on the Intuit QuickBooks piece because they think it's wrought for fraud. But so just know that we're working on it, folks. We're working on it. Any more questions for Rania from folks?
Just that, Rania, would you be willing to do a Sean Evans wing interview?
Oh, there you go.
At DattoCon, because I think the Gary Pica one was one of the best things I've ever seen at a conference.
Oh, yeah.
First, do you know who Sean Evans is?
No, I was going to ask you, Jim, to advise me on how to answer that question.
You wanted to say maybe under
Yeah.
further review.
Yeah.
Okay. So first of all, Sean Evans, he's got this show that is super popular. I didn't even realize how big it was until Connect, but he came to Connect. And what he does is he invites celebrities to the show. And it's a conversation. He asks a lot of really pointed questions about who they are, what they do, their perspective on different things. Throughout the conversation, they eat hot wings.
Oh, yes.
And the temperature of the wing.
I actually had to do that at Intuit, at MailChimp. They had me do that. And they were shocked by how much heat I could take. It's the hot ones, right? Yeah, I've experienced it personally.
Oh, wow.
Yes, you would be the team was shocked by the heat that I could take.
Well, you don't want to
Sounds
have
like
the
a yes,
dump on.
Andrew.
That's a yes.
Oh, so you guys were inviting me to do that.
That's right.
I will take you up on that. The team was shocked, so I'll do it. That sounds fun. All right. Well, let me ask you all a question as you're thinking about questions to ask me. You've already addressed a few with your energetic first few questions, but what else should we be thinking about as we work to serve MSPs in the most effective way possible? What are game-changing offerings we could bring to the market for you? What about experiences and community-based efforts? Whatever it is, what else should I be thinking about and the leadership team here at Kaseya to help you all be more effective and the community be more effective?
Well, I mean, I have one if that's all right.
Yeah.
Sukhjit Singh with Alpine Business Systems. So one of the things I really like about the SaaS alert side is the fact that we have like the biweekly call with Anthony and team. That's really given us a massive insight into what that platform can do. Because as you can imagine with a platform like that, how many hooks it has, how much data is constantly ingested by everything, it can be very overwhelming to kind of figure out, what you really want to do with a platform like that. But I don't feel that same kind of commitment with some of the other offerings. I hate to keep shitting on Graphis, but that's the one I still feel like is the redheaded stepchild. I've worked with like the level 1, the level 2 support teams. Everybody just kind of seems to be saying it's on the roadmap, it's on the roadmap. And when I ask about roadmaps, it's like, well, we can't give you the roadmap or show you the roadmap. And so I'm confused where, kind of like the sales guys are telling me one thing, the technical teams are telling me another thing. And then I have this experience with SaaS alerts, which, A to Z is exactly what I was kind of hoping for, but these other, solutions don't seem to really have that. So I'd really like to understand better, like what is the actual roadmap? I'm not saying I need to know every single detail, obviously, but I'd like to be able to go to one place and not have to sign into every community separately to see what an idea somebody submitted 3 years ago that still hasn't been pushed out. You know what I mean? Like I'd like to be able to go to a single location to get information like, hey, this is what's going to be pushed out by the end of next quarter. Like, here's what's
Yes.
going to be production. Here's what we're still testing, you know, just so I can clearly know like what to expect, what solutions, resolutions are there without constantly have to talk to so many people and kind of feel like I'm pulling teeth a little bit.
It's an excellent point. I'll share thoughts and then Jim, feel free to add on. This is a theme we've been hearing a lot from the community about the need to have transparency into the roadmap because you rely so much on our offerings that you need to know what's coming because it helps you run and lead your business. And there's a lot we can do here that you should expect to see from us in the coming months as we put in place this discipline. One is even communicating out what we are shipping. We're shipping a lot of things and it's hard to keep track of it. So expect regular communication where we're being more clear about what's come to market and what we've shipped. That's one piece. And communication that's digestible, that you're able to digest and understand. And then we would like to get to a place in the coming months where we are publishing the roadmap so that you have clarity of what's coming and happening. So those are elements that we are working on. And we've heard a few times now. We heard it at the CEO Council and DattoCon in Dublin. And, you know, this is another example of it. So it's clear that that would help the community quite a bit.
Yeah, and Rania, just for context, one of the things he's talking about there is the bi-weekly meetings with Anthony. At SaaS Search, we have something called office hours, and it's specifically designed for folks to come with questions they have about the platform, new features, new functionality, sharing best practices, certainly. So that's that. I will say that the reason I have to jump off at 1:30 Eastern time today is because in the process of trying to improve our email security posture. So it's Rania knows it's been a massive point
Priority
of
for
interest
Kevin.
and priority for me ever since walking off the stage in, at Connect in Vegas in April. So definitely noted and working on it.
Jim,
The idea of office hours is very powerful, Jim. And so people come and they speak to the product leaders, but they're talking as a community. It's an open forum where you can hear from others and just a dialogue. I think that's a very
And it's
replicatable.
recorded.
It's recorded, so you can
and
go back
posted.
and hear it.
Yes.
Okay, that's such a great one that resonates a lot.
Jim,
Yeah, I would love to see like that with other offerings, you know, because there's so much right. I know like Graphis and you know a lot of these platforms, there's a lot of development going on. Things are moving very fast all the time. Obviously, you guys have purchased a lot and you're trying to figure out how to glue everything together coherently. But it would just be nice to have more insight into like, hey, you know, like when I speak with Anthony and those guys, like, hey, these are the challenges we're running into. And then it helps me from a technical side understand, you know, hey, they're running into the same challenges anybody would. And because I have that clarity, I can be more understanding.
Right.
You know,
The office hours is helpful both for the communication with the product organization back and forth, but also with each other, as you're saying, as people are joining together.
If
exactly.
I may, take the Kaseya status page and give us one about product community and direction so that we could say, hey, it's a green light. Hey, if you want to click in deeper, you get a snippet. And then if you want to go even deeper, you can sit in on the community call or see a recording of it. That I think would be revolutionary in how we are able to consume content related to something as diverse as Kaseya.
Okay, Andy, on that one, Jim, I've asked Javi, our communications leader, to lean into this. We might have him reach out to you, Andy, to share those very concrete examples.
Okay.
Because he owes us a proposal, so
He does.
we'll have him talk to you for ideas. He's working.
Rania put him on the hot spot actually, or the hot seat on Monday in our meeting. So
He's
Eric.
excited and working on it. So your direct, very specific, game-changing idea could be very valuable for us right now. So we'll follow up.
So Eric
Great.
Monroe, impatient.
Hi, thanks for taking my question and congratulations on your new position. We're getting heavily into CMMC and FedRAMP, and one of the difficulties is finding tools and services that are compliant with CMMC level 2. Does Kaseya have a roadmap to offer a stack that would be compliant with FedRAMP and CMMC too?
I'll answer it this way, and then Jim would love your input. We've heard loud and clear the importance of this one, and we recognize it must be part of our offering, and we must have the right strategy. We're still developing the roadmap and timing around it. So we'll work to make sure that we communicate it in the coming months, but we don't have it fully buttoned. It's not fully complete yet.
Yeah. So Eric, I can tell you that it's certainly an area of focus. So Rania's obviously new. I'm still fairly new to the role, since April. But I can tell you specifically and definitively that this is an area that we are tackling. To Rania's point, we can't give you a specific timeline because I don't want to over promise and under deliver on this one, because I know there's a lot of you that are counting on it. Just know that we will. I think Eric, because you've been with us for such a long time here at SaaS Alerts. When we commit to something, we'll get it done. And we're committing to it, and we will get it done.
We appreciate it.
Eric, I'd add for you a little more info that I think Jim and Rania both couldn't know, just because I'm more in the weeds than they are, but at least twice a week I'm on calls with people inside Kaseya, specifically around CMMC2 and FedRAMP. SaaS Alerts is already CMMC2, and we're prepping for our external audit because we're CUI on CMMC2 and FedRAMP. And there is an internal team in Kaseya that is dedicated to this effort. We've done this out externally or on their own, and they're working with us to translate some of what we've done, and they're actually enhancing our own progress. So it's actually a really big push, and there's a dedicated team working on it.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Jim, Chip, is it true that you are opening up the SOC at the IRS Pennsylvania, 200 feet down to open up the CMMC SOC there? Is there any rumor?
The tunnel entrance, Andrew, I'm looking at it right out my back window on the mountain that goes up behind our farm. So there you go.
Okay.
So with that, I have to take off because I want to drive our email security to a better place. Rania, I don't know how much time.
I also have a conflict, but I'm going to stay for the last question, Jim, and then I'll drop after that.
Okay, great. Thanks, everybody.
Bye, Jim.
All right, Roman, you're up.
Hi, Rania. Nice
Hey,
to meet you.
Roman. You too.
Most Kaseyans on this call probably know who I am. Hey, Ben, Anthony. I don't really have a question. I just wanted to shout out the great experience that we're having ever since last Connect. We actually came to last Connect wanting to leave, and then our account manager hit us with, you guys hit us with K365 endpoint, and the rest of history. I want to commend you guys, at least from my sales org side, on communication. Anything that just go right to my account manager, and he is wonderful in connecting me to people and getting my questions resolved. I have Ben, I have Anthony, and I spoke to Jim multiple times one-on-ones. I met Fred. This, I think, is so important because no other vendor, products are products. Are there better products than what Kaseya is offering? Sure. But the whole integration and the communication is what makes you guys shine. I
love hearing that, Roman. How's Kaseya 365 endpoint working for you? Would you be open to doing a reference, like a customer story that we could share with others about it as well?
We already did a case study. It just came out a couple of weeks ago, actually.
You did? Okay.
Yeah. So I can count on my fingers what we don't have.
Okay.
So,
amazing.
But
well,
what I wanted to kind of say is going back to, the roadmap, obviously, and the status page. Sometimes I end up, and Ben knows this, sometimes I end up finding errors or bugs before you guys. And I let support know, and support doesn't believe me. And then I see, minutes later or hours later, you guys see it. Just kind of more effort on, there you go. I do break your products. More effort into just being on top of networking, monitor the networks. Like we had an incident with Sassy where overnight the network broke and we didn't know about it, So just kind of more aligned with monitoring the network and then letting us, the users, know before we tell you. Us as end users, we don't want to tell you when something is broken. It should be the other way around.
Yes, I fully agree with you. And
honestly, I have nothing but good things to say about the account management team here, and I think I've spoken to a lot of C-level execs about my issues, and everything I mentioned either gets rolled into the roadmap or gets implemented, which is amazing. To say that about any other vendor whether it's, best of breed products or not. There's nowhere, well, be talking to the CEO like yourself, nowhere else. So thank you for that, and keep on doing a great job with the account management team.
I love hearing that. Excellent. I just was trying to figure out how to save the chat because you guys have so many good comments in here, which I just did. So I've got it. And thank you for all the very direct conversation and input and all the pieces of what's working really well in this community so we can expand it more broadly across Kaseya. So I look forward to seeing you all again soon, and I will hand it back to Andrew to lead the call. Okay, talk soon, everybody.
Take care. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Now it can behave. Now don't have to behave anymore, Chip.
It's still recorded.
Hey guys, did I miss anything?
Nothing. Nothing at all.
Oh.
We were talking about you the whole time.
Enrique, you were unusually quiet.
It's an unusually quiet week.
Got it.
Take
I hear
care,
you,
Ann.
brother.
Good seeing you. Have fun tonight, Ann. All right, Chip. That was great, by the way. And I think, you personally had influence, Chip, on Roman as we were got together in Vegas. I think having dinner together, Chip, was right, Roman. That Chip personally turned you around. I'm kidding.
Is that true, Roman? It couldn't have been the bottle of wine, because as I remember correctly, Roman doesn't drink.
Oh, okay. All right. So let's kick in it. So Jim's gone. So how about any wins of the week? Anybody have some good stuff to share? Any, Gary, Gary, anything new and exciting from your folks? Did that all turn out good? And did they finally take your advice?
Yeah, I guess, the principal came in, pick up some the last two laptops the other day. I happened to see her in the lobby and, said, our contract with the forensics team is up at the end of the month, and I guess we have to keep Sentinel-1 installed. Should I just twist your arm a little bit harder? So yeah, like we'll see in the long run, really, because the proof is in the pudding. Yeah, they're going to spend the extra couple of bucks a month for EDR, but really the question is do they take security seriously going forward?
Right. And for those who may not, we have a lot of people on today. If this is your first SASE call, welcome. What wins of the week are is we talk about, potential or, things that might have happened to a client and how either SaaS alerts or the MSP themselves thwarted them or recovered, etc. So you're hearing the end story of overall a good, not a bad thing that happened with a compromise that Gary, his client didn't take his recommendations, well documented, but so to speak, a happy ending overall. Just out of curiosity, Gary, one other question. By any chance, did Sentinel-1 ever heed your recommendations of command lines and, doing things differently?
I actually haven't done anything with it. I've been sidetracked with other things, and it's something that I plan to contact them about. But until I'm done removing their product, I don't want to remove that back door.
Okay, fair enough. All right. Any others out there?
And we had a similar win, actually. We had a customer who, for the longest, kind of refused to take our recommendations on upping security. They assumed because they had their own kind of in-house guy who does their day-to-day, very baseline IT stuff, join computers to a domain, simple troubleshooting. They're like, no, we're fine, we're fine. And they finally got hit with the very serious breach, which, kind of brought them to the table to be like, okay, we messed up. What can we do? And then we hit them with the full stack of Kaseya. And I think now we're almost, with that customer now added as well, we're almost at 1,000 endpoints, all in all, in a very short period between customers who either had a breach or a problem, and then we hit them with the stack, switched them over across the board. I think the only component we really don't use at this point is the Datto EDR. We're mostly a Defender shop, But the integrations with that are honestly amazing. With that and the Microsoft offerings, it's really closed so many loopholes. And now with SaaS alerts, the secure score, I'm able to do so much with that and the templates. We rolled out the business premium template somebody had put out in the community template. I think that's from Kaseya, if I remember right. But that did so much in terms of creating a lot of conditional access policies, closing a lot of basic loopholes in Microsoft. So it's been a very solid experience with SaaS alerts and just kind of giving people that proof in the pudding of, here's all the things we're doing and here's everything that's kind of going in place and why you're, kind of paying us what you're paying us for.
Well, congrats on getting the customer. Did you ask them, post-mortem at all? Like, what was this was what it had to take? You had to get compromised? You had to have a data exfiltration? Or was there any of that conversation had afterwards?
Oh, I leave those conversations to somebody else. I'm just happy to deploy everything once I see that sign off happen. Because I know exactly why it happens every time. But then when I get to deploy it and I'm like, loopholes closed, I'm like, phew, one less thing to worry about. So
good. Awesome. Any others? All right, let's move on. Adam, are you with us, sir?
Yes, sir, I am.
All right, I'm gonna let you take on over here.
And Adam, you can be yourself now.
I
Rania's
know,
gone.
right? I know. I was like, I messaged Chip earlier. I'm like, do I have to be like all professional and stuff, or can I just be me?
No,
He advised,
go completely non-professional now, if you would, Adam.
yeah, he advised that I should never be me, and that I should
That's
strive to
not
be.
what I said, Adam.
Tina's on, and she's got her Sassy shirts. Go, there
Tell
you
him
go.
exactly what I said, Adam.
I think you said something along the lines of you need to be comfortable in your own skin.
Exactly.
And I absolutely am. And I love that this company lets me do that, because I don't think that most other companies would have the patience necessary to put up with me long term.
You got that right.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to flip over. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was gonna say, what's the Groucho Marx about, you couldn't be a member of your own country club, basically.
Yeah. Anybody that would take me as a member, I question, what is it? Like I question their
sanity.
Yeah. All right. Let me show you all what we've been cooking up here. Let me share my screen here. I'm on an unfamiliar computer today, so bear with me. All right. So about 2-3 months ago, maybe longer, we released the ASN plus location feature that allowed us to quiet down some of the outside approved location events that we were throwing you guys' way. The next step of that is what we've been calling enhanced event suppression. And that is kind of the next step. And I want to show you that today. This is on our dev platform, which means you don't have it yet. But for those of you who have used the event suppression tool thus far, you'll notice that this is mucho different. So the first thing that I will point out is that we have the ability to select the applies to. So in this instance, we can select the account that this specific event was triggered from. We can come in, we can select multiple accounts in one go. We have the ability to set it completely at the organization level, or we can go all the way on the partner side. So the context here is really powerful. And then the other thing that is interesting that we've allowed is we allow you to select different fields so that you can begin to create your own enhanced, advanced, specific granular suppressions. And this list here right now is kind of my demo list. As we release this and we start to hear from partners like you all, what things you would want to filter by, we can add them to this list in a very, very quick, let's call it 3 days maybe, assuming that the business case makes sense and it won't break things that would break if we added a field that doesn't make sense. But in this instance, I have the ability to say, hey, listen, I don't want a file event modified if it's coming from this specific ASN. Or maybe I only don't want it if the product name is Microsoft. And so I can come in here now and at the partner level, for instance, I can select these three things. And this is where it gets really powerful. So now, instead of just saying like, hey, we don't want to see it in the analysis section, for instance, we're going to allow you to turn on and off the processing in different areas of our platform. So you know what, maybe you don't want the IOC system to trigger when these three situations occur. Or maybe you want everything to trigger, but maybe you don't want a ticket because you're going to do the ticketing elsewhere. Maybe you just don't want outside approved location to trigger based on these things. And so, I can't see anybody asking questions. So if there are, if somebody would let me know. But in here, we have the ability to turn on and off all the different features inside of the system. We also, there it goes. We also have date-based. So this is another feature that folks have been asking for quite some time. And this is, I'll talk a little bit about what's coming soon, but we actually have the ability now to set suppressions in the future. And we have the ability to have them expire at a certain date. So this one is only going to be active for 7 days. So maybe we know that somebody is doing some maintenance and they're going to be touching a whole bunch of files. Maybe they're going to be out of town. Whatever it may be, you can now schedule these suppressions. So before I go any further here, I will ask any questions, comments, thoughts, suggestions.
Adam,
So we got go ahead.
there's a question in chat, Adam, about how this correlates to power filters. Can you address that?
Good. Yep, that's where I was headed next. So, so shifting gears. So this is kind of step 2 in our overhaul of this kind of entire suppression power filters piece. So the next step here is that the goal is to actually merge suppression and power filters into one tool, and it will end up being power filters is likely what the name will be. And so these two will merge. It'll be one interface, one place. We're just kind of like stepping towards that. The other item, which is kind of a next step as well, is right now our suppressions are able to be created only after an event has triggered. And so that's how you launch this. We will be offering a new feature where you can go and create a new suppression either via the API or via the GUI without even having to have had the event trigger first. This is going to be really powerful for those situations where you know somebody's going to be on PTO in a different country or they're working from a remote location temporarily, and you want to schedule that ahead of time. So you don't even want that initial ticket to go through to the ticketing system or be managed by Respond. You want to get ahead of it. And so that also will be another feature that's coming.
So Adam, just real quick, I'm going to let Ryan go first, just in case his question / comment might answer Andy's question. So Ryan, why don't you go first?
This is not normally the forum where I make suggestions on what's coming. Usually I do this more peacefully, but this is the first time I'm seeing it. I'm super excited. Adam, can we put in the plan and a report that will indicate to our partners what event suppressions they have put together so they can actually pull them and correlate them in some way?
Yeah, so I think when we talk about reports, I'll have to talk to Amanda on that side. However, what we did have here is we do have a screen here that shows it with the export button. So, and one of the other items that I actually put in here is actually the ability to view analysis directly from the suppression rule. So, hey, what actually did trigger and what was suppressed as part of this particular item, and you can click it, it brings you to analysis and shows you.
Excellent. Thank you, Adam.
Yep. The other item is we did put a name and a reason, just because so a lot of times you have folks that are managing, you have multiple admins that are managing this feature, and you don't exactly know why maybe they did that. So you'll have the ability to put that information in there too.
Andy, over to you.
linking this with Unify and or policies, I see this as being really foundational. The power filters I see as a single collection, but being able to bring Unify and tie in more detail around, let's say, browsers or apps being used, and then being able to set policies across customers that I could have multiple power filters associated with it potentially. That would be very helpful for a compliance standpoint as I begin to drill down more and more into that. So I'm just expressing bringing Unify into this as well would be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, indirectly, Unify is involved in it in that Unify ends up being a field on every event if Unify processed the event. And so you would be able to select the unify.status field, for instance, and be able to add that into the suppression.
So where I'm beginning to think about this is DNS. What if it got modified in some way at the endpoint? We'd be able to detect, hey, these things have begun to be changed or modified. To be able to detect those types of alerts would be something within SaaS alerts. I see this as really kind of having the ability to grow very rapidly around a management platform.
Yeah, I'm interested in that for sure. I'm wondering how that applies to SaaS alerts versus like an endpoint
Well, this is
solution.
what I'm
Like
getting at. You have access to the endpoint, it's feeding, and now we've got this trove of data, and I want to begin to be able to say, hey, alerts on these combinations that include something that's coming from the endpoint potentially.
Okay.
So, Adam, just one comment from, I hope I'm pronouncing it correct, Mr. Singh. Sujit, with Rocket Cyber, you can't create suppression rules ahead of time. With that integration with Rocket Cyber, will that address that issue by doing it instead through SaaS alerts?
Good question. So the suppression rules that I showed you are relevant to the SaaS alerts platform and SaaS alerts data. So putting the suppression rule in our side is not going to prevent an alert, for instance, in the Rocket Cyber side, and the SOC may be calling you or taking action over there. Yet, I mean, my understanding of the direction that we're going is one platform eventually merged together, and all the magic that's going to happen. Then when we're managing one code base and one set of suppression rules, I hope that exactly what you're asking for will take place.
Cool.
Got it.
All right. Let's, with time ticking away quickly here, Amanda.
Pass it off.
Yeah.
Hey, everyone. So I have two quick updates. The first one is that we released the service principal created event several months back now, and we are finishing out the suite of the service principal events with the modified, deleted, and updated. So those events will be on production shortly. And so you'll be able to see the entire life cycle of a service principal now being added, any permissions being modified, and when it's deleted. So you'll know who has access through that third-party app. So that's the first update. The second update, let me share my screen real quickly, is Fortify related. And this is because of a recent breach specifically for the Ingram GDAP service. So they've had a breach. And so what we've done is we've created the conditional access policy that'll actually block their access to your Azure tenant until this breach has kind of been settled and you're comfortable with it and you think that that service should be able to have access to the tenant again. So this new conditional access policy has been added to Fortify. It was already released yesterday, last afternoon. So this is available to you now. So you can go ahead and apply the action, and this will again block the Ingram GDAP service from access to your Azure tenant. And then once this breach has been sort of resolved and you guys are feeling comfortable that that should have access again to the tenant for your customers, you would come in and you would press the undo action button in the corner. And then that'll allow you to undo it to the tenant so you don't have to manage that anywhere outside of Fortify. And that's it.
That's awesome, Amanda. So just curious, Chip, maybe to you and or Chip. So this was like, hey, because we haven't heard from Ingram what really the results were. I know we're going to, if we had time, Chip, we'll talk about this. but because there hasn't really been a post-mortem on this, partners are saying, hey, can you give us this conditional access policy to do this for us?
Yeah, I mean, so this came about, I think, just naturally from within Kaseya, people seeing that the threat was out there and then reaching out to us saying, what can we do to help our customers address this threat? And so it was kind of an internal, I don't think we had a specific customer request it from us, but we do want to just, when we can see these threats and we can make an action, we want to be able to get it out there for the community.
Got it. That's fantastic, being proactive on that. Good for you guys. All right. Good. Ben, any update on KSIM? I know you've been working like round the clock on this. Anything you want to share?
Not too much craziness going on now. We're still finishing up the project so that we can really like put the managed in the managed SIM. So that's coming very, very soon.
Okay, fantastic. And it's going to be, like we talked about, the socks by Chip's house. So that's going to be awesome. This week's cyber call, I highly encourage you all to listen to it. We really got in, I'll put the URLs in. The reason I wanted to recommend this one is we really got into the business-led conversation versus tech-led conversation. Really what moves business leaders, it's risk, it's their revenue, it's not tech. We've had phenomenal feedback. We had Brian Blakely as our principal guest on this and David Primer. All right, moving on. Just real quick, Chip, fun stuff back. This is our weekend. For those that are new to the SASE call, this is our fun week in cyber. We have had a plethora, I guess is the words, Chip, of FTP type attacks. We've had Move It, we've had Clio, and now we have Wing. This is something, used by, as I'm highlighted down here, some major companies. Again, I just recommend that you take a look in your software databases, in your RMMs, if any of your clients are using this software, which you may not know, whether it be shadow IT, etc., whether it be co-managed, because this has a significantly 10 out of 10 exploitable vulnerability going on to it right now. Seems like those FTPs are just a juicy target, huh, Chip, for the threat actors. And love your comments real quick, and then we'll move on. But as you can see here, whether it's Shodan, Census, etc., there are a significant number. This is just from the other day of still exposed devices. And this is common, whether you have a Fortinet vulnerability or something like that. The manufacturer comes out, it's publicized widely, and yet people are not patching. So
if only there were newer technology than a late 1990s protocol for moving files around.
I can't imagine what that would be, Chip. All right. Maybe in the last 4 minutes here, Chip, I think, what we wanted to talk about, since Amanda talked about Ingram, I just wanted to talk about this. Chip, so on one hand, thank goodness, I'm really happy for Ingram. They're up and running successfully. In talking to their partners, they did communicate to their partners internally, at least their TrustX Alliance, their higher end partners. I don't know if hopefully they did, but they're up and running. The thing you and I talked about, Chip, was the disparity between the 6 very small vignettes of coverage. And the reason Chip and I like to cover this stuff isn't to sit here and we're not condemning Ingram, right? Because they did the necessary notification to meet SEC compliance, etc. But what we did want to talk about is what the gold standard might look like. And I'll share these and the Chip kind of riff on this. I think the 2 gold standards that Chip and I have really seen over the past 12 months comes from Cloudflare's CEO and Coinbase's CEO. I'll put both URLs in there. I think Coinbase was masterful in theirs, Chip, in that they just literally laid out, not only did they say we're not going to negotiate with threat actors, but they put in very quickly what the threat actors had access to, what they didn't, what they did wrong as a company, how they're going to mitigate it in the future. There was complete transparency. What are your thoughts on that and the lessons learned here for MSPs on a comms perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I think the primary lesson is the term you used twice there, and that's transparency. In the case of Ingram, there was not a lot of transparency. We talked about this a little last week. That leaves the room for people's imaginations to run amok with the worst case scenario regarding their customer data, their own data, their payment data, all that kind of stuff. Both Cloudflare and Coinbase got right out in front of this, made it super clear what was and wasn't at risk. Cloudflare was kind of, I don't want, not stale, what's the right word? Much less dramatic in their presentations, but their data, the data in the responses and the timing in their responses was very, very swift. And made it clear where the risks were, why people weren't at risk anymore, and what they'd done about it. On the Coinbase side, when you and I were talking about this the other night, I just said this to me, this one is literally like the masterclass in how you do this. Now, Coinbase can afford, of course, to say, hey, we're going to throw out a $20 million bounty on the people who did this rather than pay them the ransom, or maybe they can buy an insurance policy against actually, leading to a conviction. But the point is, they just boldly went to the community and in a very subtle way acknowledged something that we've talked about a lot, Andrew, which is everyone's going to get hacked sooner or later, or it's not an if, but when, or at least that has to be your mindset. And they basically went to the community and said, "This happened to us. It sucks. It could happen to anybody. And we're going to put out a bounty for any information from anyone, and we're not going to play ball." Like that to me was a very forward community-ist response saying, we're all in this together and, we can afford it. So we're going to afford to fight. We can afford it. So we're going to fight back in a big and powerful and very expressive way. And for me, I think that when MSPs are advising their customers on how their customers should be communicating to their audience, that's the lesson. MSPs themselves should, God forbid, any of you guys, get specifically compromised or ransomed or anything else. The way for you to be communicating to your customers, the closer you can get to this model, the better off you're going to be.
Yeah, certainly the lesson, obviously seek breach counsel first, but have a comms plan. But in closing here, Chip, they, aside from they have the $20 million, the master classes, they didn't hide anything. They said what they got, what they didn't get, and what they're doing about it. And I think that is the gold standard in really, communicating what happens when there's a compromise. So, all right, I know we're at the top of the hour. Really appreciate everybody coming on today. We hope to see you not just once when Rania comes on, but every Thursday we'll be here at 1 p.m. And wishing you all a safe, happy, healthy week ahead. Until then, take care, everybody.
Thank you, guys. Stay safe.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank everyone.
See you guys. Take care.
Bye-bye.